Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.
Hapaday Dantiro. Welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry, and today it's my pleasure to have in studio representative of the Office of Indigenous Affairs, Program Manager Crispin Ogo. Chris, Hapaday Dantiro, welcome.
Buenas, Jesus Masi, for this opportunity.
Well, it's so great to have your office with us today, and because many people may not be aware about the responsibilities of the Resident Executive for Indigenous Affairs. It's actually a constitutionally mandated office with some pretty awesome responsibilities that we're going to talk about today. But in general, what is the role of Indigenous Affairs? Okay,
first of all, I'm talking on behalf of the Resident Executive, Roman Tudela. Mr. Tudela is off island today. And I just want to share to everyone that in 1985, this office was established through the Second Constitutional Convention. So it's over 30 years that this office has been in existence. However, we just reopened the office 11 months ago. It was reopened on October of last year. So it's been almost a year since the reopening of this office. So overall, as you can see, if you have a chance to go online to get into the Sinamay Constitution, Article 3, Section 23B of the Resident Executive Responsibility. A lot of people I found through surveys that they think the Office of the Indigenous is all about culture. Well, guess what? It's not. Yes, portion of it is about promoting, preserving, and protecting our culture. However, we realize that we need to get our people to be educated or to get into the vocational institute, and most importantly, to become self-sufficient. If you really look and read the constitutional mandate, it mandates our office to figure out how do we get our people to be more sufficient with their livelihood. So hopefully with our budget request for fiscal year 2019, they can give us extra personnel to hire caseworkers, because we realize the importance of reaching out to our target population, where we can do a one-on-one sit down with our Indigenous people and say, hey, where you're at in life. We have ideas to work with our seniors, graduating seniors throughout CNMI. We have ideas to go out to the village and talk to our unemployed people and see how can we help them to become self-sufficient, because we don't want our people to be dependent on public benefits. We want our people to be out there working. That's why we came up with this idea of the one-to-one advocacy. The one-to-one advocacy would really focus on one Indigenous person replacing a contract worker. Let us not feel that of course, we need contract workers. Definitely, we don't have the population to provide service, provide manpower to our tourism industry. But we have to look really hard, as the office suggests, that not only that we promote higher education, but we have to look at those people who are not into higher education, not into vocational education, and see where they can fit in life, so we can work through helping them become self-sufficient. So one way to do that is through that one-to-one advocacy. We have planned to talk to the Department of the Secretary of Labor. We have communication with the Division of Employment at the Department of Labor that we will be sitting down with them to look into this one-to-one advocacy. And we plan to go every week if we get this personnel that we anticipate for next fiscal year to work with the Division of Employment. We're not duplicating here, okay? We are just merely looking after our target population, which is the indigenous people. So we're not duplicating Department of Labor. So we want to make sure that we advocate for our people, for them to become self-sufficient. I mean, it spells out in our constitutional duty that we want, let's say, for example.
Well, yeah. One of the things I was going to say is that I know one of the challenges of the office is that you have been underfunded. And it's really
Correct.
hard to do programs when you don't have money for programs. So it's really great to see that you guys are finally able to do some of these things that are your mandate. As you said, one of them being the to assist and promote the entry of Indigenous people into professional and technical institutes.
Correct.
And you have a conference coming up this week, and it really is kind of the foundation, grassroots of what is Indigenous.
Correct.
And where are we, and where were we, and where are we headed? Tell us what this conference is going to be all about.
Well, let me just go back a little before we get into the conference. And we got a call from the Japan consulate. And it was interesting enough during our conversation with Mr. Shinoda. And he was talking on his personal level, not as a consulate, that for the 3 months that he was here, he barely meets local people, and when he goes out, he don't see in the front line Chamorro and Carolinians. So the following day, Director Tudela and I sat down, and it's like, whoa, it's kind of like an awakening for us. And immediately we decided we need to get all our nonprofit organization in one room, all the Chamorro and Carolinian nonprofits whose mission is to promote, protect, preserve the Chamorro Carolinian language and culture. So we decided to do that. We call up Carolinian Affairs, Department of Community and Culture Affairs, Division of Arts and Language. We got together, and also PSS. We're glad to have Jonas Barcinas as part of the group. And we gave them our thought, and they were like, yeah, let's do it. So what we want is the nonprofit organization to come in and share their thoughts. Where are we, and what we need to do in order to revive our Chamorro and Carolinian language, culture, traditions. So we're going to go in there. We have 3 working sessions, and in each session we would like to ask the nonprofits and the people, the conferees, to give us ideas and solutions. So that way, at the end of this conference, the group will come together and consolidate, put all the ideas together, and identify whether this group of idea requires policy change, this group of idea requires funding in order to establish something to make it to make it grow or to make it alive, whatever is the intention of the group. And next year, this is not only for this year. Okay, this year we're going to share ideas. Next year in September again, for the next 4 years. Remember, this is for the next 4 years. Every September, we're going to come back and assess, measure where we're at with what we decided this year. So it's going to be fun, and it will be the foundation of
fun. It sounds like a lot of hard work and deep thinking.
Well, that's why it's fun, because I can't wait to hear what the nonprofit people have in their mind, and what is their mission, and how do they see this? How do we revive again our language, our culture, and it's honestly, I'm experiencing it. When I go anywhere here on Saipan and even back in Rhoda, when you see a kid, you have to speak to them in English. My fault. It's not the children's fault.
That's how I
so,
feel also.
we have to practice our language, our traditions, our culture. I'm not saying that we're going to go back to the 3,000 years ago lifestyle. No. We can blend in the modern and also infuse our culture, our traditions into our daily life. That's what we want. And this conference, hopefully with all the great minds that we invited, and again, this conference for now is invitation only, and our focus is the nonprofits. And we want them to come in and let us know what do they think is the right thing to do, so we can formulate a platform on how to develop our way to reviving our identity, Chamorro and Carolinian.
So if somebody feels that they have something to contribute at this conference, could they contact your office to discuss if there's available room?
Yes, they can call us at 664-CNMI. It's not hard. 664-CNMI. Just remember, you're from the CNMI, so just 664-CNMI 2664. Call us. We're more than happy to see whether there's still seatings available. Again, please forgive us. Fundings are not that, we don't have that much to accommodate as many people. But our main goal here is to have at least 2 members of a nonprofit organization to be part of this, and also to the departments and agencies who have similar missions, such as DCCA. We have PSS, the bilingual program, to be part of this and contribute. We have teachers that will be participating, and I just can't wait to see the result of this year's conference, because next year we will assess how far we're at, if we categorize and also put up what are the top 10 that we need to tackle for the next 2 years, and what are the remainings that we need to tackle. Because ultimately, whatever we come up with this year will be the foundation of our youth. Whatever Mr. Shinoda brought up about our identity. Yes, it's great to provide it, to have it available, for the tourists to feel it right away, but it takes time to build. You cannot just build overnight. So the conference will eventually formulate a platform where we take this home. We establish this platform at home, at school, and in the community. So hopefully 30 years from today, we can see the fruit of what's going to transpire in this conference. That's what we dream about. 30 years from today. Things will not happen overnight, but we will look at the recommendations of our conferees, things that we can do for the next 2 years, things that we can do for 2019. We will be able to understand which area we can tackle right away, and what are what are the plans for the future. Because eventually, we need to start going back to our children in order for us to to show our identity to people that are coming into our island 30 years from today. We have to start now.
Well, we're speaking today with Program Officer Chris Ogo of the Office of Indigenous Affairs. They have a lot of things on their plate that they're working on, and we'll hear more on that after this break.
Did you know that you can donate up to $5,000 to the Humanities Council through the CNMI Education Tax Credit Program? Donations from individuals and corporations qualify and can be used to offset your local wage and salary tax, BGRT, and earnings tax. Call our office at 235-4785 to see how you can support humanities programs in our community and obtain a tax credit for your donation. Sizu'us ma'asi, olomai, and thank you.
Welcome back to Your Humanities Half Hour. We're speaking today with Program Officer Chris Ogo of the Office of Indigenous Affairs. Chris, I have to say, every time I've met you, you're talking about these issues related to the Indigenous Chamorro and Carolinian people, and you're very passionate about it. I don't think we actually have enough time to talk about everything you want to mention today, but we'll do our best in the second half of our show.
Right.
So you mentioned this conference for nonprofits that's
Yes.
happening this month, but there's also something for the public you guys have planned on October 7th. Tell us what that is.
Okay. First of all, I just want to. You caught my attention on a word that really got me thinking right now. The word passion. Well, it's been a long time that our people have been misrepresented. Of course, we understand leadership, in our community, that's understandable. But on a personal level or the level of this office, it's been a long time. And Roman and I, believe me, every day when we're at work, that's all we talk about. What are we going to do for our people? So yeah, we have plenty of ideas. And I just want to share that on October 9th, remember, every year.
It's the 9th.
The 9th.
Not the 7th.
Every year, yes, it's on the 9th because it's the Commonwealth Cultural Day. That's a holiday for our government employees, and we figured that we have to celebrate Commonwealth Cultural Day a lot. For many years, nobody have thought about really looking at that day and celebrating our culture. So the Indigenous office with other partners, again, Mr. Tudela, and we're happy to have a community member come into our office and say, hey, we have this idea, a cultural expo. So we took that idea and run with it. So now we are into forming and making that happen.
It sounds
so
really
the cultural
exciting.
expo, we're going to have a lot of people that going to be there to demonstrate their cultural knowledge. For example, cooking, making coconut oil, teaching people about fishing, and there's other stuff that we forget that is important to become sustainable. It can be an extra supplemental budget within our family income. So that day will be a lot. There's going to be a lot of master art people, master fishermen, master farmers,
hands-on activity, which is so great.
Yes.
It's nice to have the conferences where you go and you get the intellectual input, but not everybody learns by listening and reading. Some people learn by putting their hands on things and moving. And so when is this going to be, and do you have a venue yet?
Yes, this is going to happen over at Guma Sangman. And the nicest thing about this demonstration is we're going to partner up with 500 Cells. Thank you. Yeah, Pete and Emma, thank you so much for reviving our culture. That's part of reviving our culture, right? Is to bring back our Sangman, and we're just happy about 500 cells. Every day we talk about them because they're awesome people. But we will have 500 cells providing our people that are going to be there to write Sineni, and also the demonstrators. We are partnering up with Imperial Pacific, and Carolinian Affairs and other nonprofits to make this thing happen. And I just want to do a shout out to Irene Torres for coming up with this idea. And yes, Lady D Foundation is really helping out with this cultural expo, and we're excited to be partnering with them.
No, I kind of got confused on the date then. Give us the correct date.
The correct date is October 9 at Guma Sangman from 9 to 3. It's going to be our first year. Of course, every year we're going to do this. You see, it's part of our constitutional mandate to have cultural events. So this is going to be, I believe, the second time that we're going to to have a cultural event. And also we plan in the future to start having or to celebrate Indigenous Day. And you know what day is Indigenous Day? August 4th. So hopefully next year in 2019 we will be we'll be coming back again and talk about the Indigenous Day, which is August 9. August 4th of every year.
August 4th. But the Cultural Expo is coming up
On the 9th.
October 9th at
Gumasakman from 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon.
That's going to be really exciting. And a great opportunity for not only residents of the CNMI to come out, but also visitors to come out and learn about our culture. Now, we've covered several things that the office does, but there's actually a number of other things you guys are responsible for that I know you'd like to mention.
Yes. First of all, I just want to share that when the office was open, one of the biggest mission that the director and I really were pushing was language. So for many times we met with Ms. Jackie Kirugua, Mr. Jonas Barcinas at the Public School Chamorro Carolinian Language Heritage Studies. We've been meeting with them countless times, and finally they got us to meet with the Public School Board of Directors, and we brought together with us John Tagobel from the Carolinian Affairs and also DCCA to speak and say, hey, we really need more teachers. Your criteria is hurting our language. Why? Because you require people to have 24 credits from accredited college, and you also need to have them pass Praxis 1 and 2. So we're trying to figure out how do we get entry-level people, Chamorro Carolinians who knows how to speak the language, write the language, even, to speak, to write, and to read it. So there are many peoples out there, except that they don't have the 24 credits. So finally, they gave us an opportunity to speak, and we're very hopeful that PSS will be listening to these 3 cabinet members, Robert Hunter, Roman Tudela Jr., and John Tagobel. Remember, these are the representative of the governors asking PSS that, hey, we need more Chamorro and Carolinian teachers. We need our language. But of course, like one person always say that we can teach them at school, but if we don't practice them at home, where can we get our language to start or to be more effective? So I encourage our parents out there who still speak the language to please think about, is our language important enough to save? If you don't think so, then what can we do? But we're going to be out there advocating, saying we need to bring back the Chamorro and Carolinian language to our community. So we humbly ask parents who can still speak the language. Now, the ones that can't speak the language,
maybe learn first.
Try.
Somebody will want to teach you. One thing I think that is cultural about us is that sometimes when somebody is trying to learn the language, we have a little fun with them. Right. And that is part of culture. I've experienced it. I love to make my Chamorro friends laugh by trying to speak Chamorro. And you know what? I learn and they have a good time. So let's humble ourselves if we're trying to learn and make the effort.
True. And another thing that when we first started again the office is the director and I were really looking into, part of his duty was to establish the Indigenous Cultural Center and the Indigenous Hall of Fame. We've had meetings and meetings with different people, and we finally got ourselves structural blueprints of wonderful ideas on how the Indigenous Cultural Center should look like. We also have a perspective design that we have at our office that's available for if anyone is interested to see how the design of our cultural center. At one time, somebody mentioned that there's already a design over at DCCA. We just recently learned that last week. So we are going to go and look at all those other designs, but the director already does have a design, a perspective, even a blueprint of how the building is going to look like without spending any dime on feasibility study. So we've been working, trying to get things from language to the cultural center to other issues at hand. And we've been doing few outreach. We go to the villages to listen into what people's concern, but the ultimate information that we're going to get and hopefully and will establish one day is this conference that's coming up. And it's really important that we start talking about it and establishing something for the benefit of our youth, most especially, you know.
Well, I do want to give you time before we go to share some final thoughts. I know you have a long list. You know what? I'm going to issue an invitation right now. Okay, so we've got the Cultural Expo coming up in October. The next event you guys plan, give me a call. I'll have you back, and we can cover all these other things you guys are doing. But as we come to the end of our show, Chris, share with us your thoughts on where we are as a people, Indigenous people, and where you think we have the potential to be.
Well, I've observed our young folks, and majority of them are more focused on being westernized, and that's fine. What can we do? You know, when the Spanish came in, we became Christianized. You know, Germans, Japanese, and now American. That's fine, but it's important also to understand that education is really important, and I don't blame parents that want their kids to exceed and felt that speaking English would be the best way to succeed in life. However, it's proven that you don't need to be only an English speaker to graduate, to get your bachelor's degree, your master's degree. You can be bilingual and still get higher education.
It's
yeah,
even beneficial to be
multilingual. So, but you know, a good example of where we're at, huh? See the Davis and the Election Commission case. Imagine for us to be be appealing up to the Supreme Court. That is high level thinking. Believe me, Chamorro, to be saying, wait a minute, there's another step that I can go to. I can go to the Supreme Court. Look how far we've gone. We learned that the democratic system works. So yeah, Chamorros, Carolinians, we're awesome. Yeah.
We are, and you talked about westernization, and the West also has some things to learn from Indigenous people, not just here in these islands, but, you know, all Indigenous people.
Yes. And I ask again, parents, it's you that can determine the future of our children, the future of the Commonwealth. We vote every other year, but let's not put politics as priority. It's important, but let us look at our culture, our language. That is important too, and we need to practice it. We need to practice it at home. Let's not just give PSS to be the entity to teach our kids about our language. Let's start at home. I ask of you. Let's start at home. Thank you, Catherine, for having the Indigenous office here. Hopefully, when my resident executive gets here for the next interview, him and I can come in. But yeah, thank you for having us. All right.
We've been speaking with Program Officer Chris Ogo of the Office of Indigenous Affairs, and welcome everybody to come out to the Cultural Expo on October 9th at Gumasakman and learn more about the Indigenous Chamorro and Carolinian people. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
This program was supported by a We the People grant awarded to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities or the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.